news, and you got the Kawhi Leonard trade, which pushed us back a little bit, but it's all good to have you on the UMA guest line as well as the stream on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. What's up, Sam? How are you?
What's up, gentlemen? Thanks for the patience there. Busy day, but how are you? How are we doing today?
We are doing well. We are trying to sort through all of the rumors and what is actually possible, and I had been under the assumption, personally, that LeBron James being a Laker was the most likely outcome. And this, look, we've talked about this with you plenty over the course of the season where the relationship was not good. And then it looked like in the second half of the season, he actually really fit in as the third option and maybe things were much better. Austin Reeves gets the max deal. And now we learned this morning that he is not going to go back to the Lakers and he will continue playing. You've been all over it. I'm sure your screen time is crazy. When did you get wind that LeBron to the Warriors was a legitimate possibility compared to anything of the past 2 years since Joe Lacob had reached out about it?
I mean, honestly, it's been legit for a while. The twist from the other day was, when you get close to free agency, you start seeing the way the different agents and camps are using the chessboard, so to speak. So you had Rich Paul, who, as you guys know, Clutch Sports president and agent for Draymond Green, agent for LeBron James, agent for Anthony Davis. And you already know where I'm going, which is that there was this idea that if the Warriors wanted LeBron, they had to take on AD. I feel like not 100%, but it really feels like that ship has sailed in terms of the Wizards are not looking to do that. Does not appear that the Warriors are looking to do that. So I think we're honing in on the LeBron Warriors possibility now. And it's funny because it does, without question, seem like they are, all across the league seen as the front runner. But as somebody who's covered LeBron for almost his entire career, like, you also are trained to be ready for a curveball. You know what I mean? Like the Cleveland possibility has been talked about. The Miami thing would be fascinating. So no clarity yet, but the Warriors certainly seem to be, deep in the mix.
What do you think among the teams that have been reported to this point? Obviously the Warriors, Miami, Cleveland, among that group, I mean, where do you think LeBron's priorities will lie in attempting to make a decision versus, maybe another team that pops up seemingly out of nowhere?
Hard to tell, JD. I mean, here's how I see it. The Warriors thing, at first I had a hard time believing it when this idea got legs. I certainly understood the Warriors' interest in how they went after him at the trade deadline last year. But, the idea of him really wanting to do it was hard to chew on, partly because everybody thought that he was so comfortable in L.A. Well, now we know that, he's done with the Lakers. There have been times when people said, don't rule out the Clippers, but, I'm not hearing that right now. So now it's like seeming very real that he's going to leave L.A. There's no team better suited to make it comfortable for him to be out of L.A. but still have some of those comforts than the Warriors. There's been reports about them being willing to let him live down there and kind of shuttle back and forth. And listen, when you have the kind of money that these players and organizations have, that you can kind of stretch the imagination in that way. I think that the Steph Curry relationship and connection is extremely real. And you guys know the backstory with the Olympics and the way they got, raised the gold medal together. But the other scenarios have equally compelling storylines. You know what I mean? Like, by the way, he's been posting social media stuff like crazy this week, working out in Ohio. So not a shocker. Like, he's got a lot of roots in Ohio, but the fact that he's posting from the Cleveland area gets your attention. The Miami thing, to quickly highlight that one, is got some layers to it, because I think it would be a little bit storybook in terms of him going back to Miami. But I don't know if Giannis wants that. I don't know how the team sees it. So, the three teams that get talked about the most are the ones that he's got a whole lot of history with.
Sam, a lot of this for LeBron seems to be about respect and appreciation. And as far as a fan base, Cleveland no doubt would offer him the most of that. But do you think that the Warriors internally and within the organization would be able to offer LeBron the most respect and appreciation, in part because of how desperate they are compared to some of these other teams?
Yeah, but I also think it's legitimately part of their culture. Now, there's been outliers, right? Like Klay Thompson in the end didn't feel respected, and not to pit these guys against each other, but Klay didn't play the game to the degree that Draymond Green has. You know what I mean? Like Draymond has found a way to not only be respected, but to do the types of things like he did yesterday, declining his player option to give the Warriors all sorts of scenarios on their chessboard that weren't otherwise available. That's, kind of a mutually beneficial thing. With LeBron, yeah, I mean, you've got, first of all, like my buddy and longtime Lakers beat writer Dan Wojcicki put it best the other day, and he knows LeBron really well. He said, I really do think that playing with his friends at this stage in life would mean something to him, not being surrounded by a bunch of kids. Now, I know the fans hear that, and they're like, well, we don't want just the old heads, but like I'm talking about just the human component of being LeBron James. And, and this is when the AD scenario was kind of hotter. So let's take AD out of it. But playing with Steph, playing with Draymond, that's the type of thing. We know how close he and Draymond are. We know how much he and Steph have gotten closer. He's got a lot of respect for Steve Kerr. I think the respect would not be an issue at all in the Warriors environment.
What do you think LeBron in a meeting with the Warriors would want? Because we know the money situation with them, right? It's non-taxpayer mid-level. And what do you think the Warriors' pitch at this point would be beyond, hey, come play with your friends?
I think it's a puncher's chance at being a contender. I mean, it's one of those things, if you squint hard enough. Now, listen, if they just take them into the mid-level, taxpayer mid-level, then you're not having to move off of Jimmy Butler. So then let's just, again, take AD out of it. You've got a regular season where, as far as LeBron's value to the program, with Jimmy on the shelf, they would actually need a fair amount out of LeBron. And so he and Steph and Draymond would go do their thing, and they'd find a way to make it work. And obviously Porzingis now as well. So the regular season pitch is, we need you. But then when it matters most come playoff time, in a perfect world, Jimmy is coming back and helping you. And then it's, again, it's an old team, but it's a team that is, at minimum interesting competitively. And then entertainment-wise, it's through the roof. The ratings would be tremendous. The ticket sales would be, something that would make Joe Lacob smile. So that's the basketball pitch. And it's a little bit, it's a reach to say this, but, listen, Kevin Durant getting added to what the Warriors had already done, he added to his legacy. It was an already great program. If LeBron was able to help these guys get back to maybe not even a championship, but get in the conference finals or just be in that mix, that would be another kind of feather in his cap legacy-wise.
Assuming, Sam, that the Warriors were a little bit short of title contender in just adding LeBron, do you think there are other moves available to them that could add to that? Do you think they would explore that option, essentially, of, hey, is there something that's maybe not AD centric that could be, a Jimmy point of view? Or is there a sense that there would also be others that may be willing to sign up on veteran minimum type deals if LeBron is coming, and that could potentially help in that way?
For sure. I mean, listen, you got those kinds of names, those kinds of resumes. Even at these stages, you're going to get people to come calling. I think I've shared this on the show before, and these names are out there, like Colin Sexton, Anthony Simons. Those are some of the guys that the Warriors are known to have interest in. Now, again, if you're giving that mid-level to LeBron, then you're kind of running out of money. But, that's something where these are some of the best recruiters in the history of the NBA. I mean, Draymond's on that short list. LeBron can call anybody and play that role, and Steph as well. The first thing, though, I will say, I don't know if everybody's just following the rules for once, but in the early going, I thought by now that we would be hearing that, Steph and Draymond and LeBron had talked and the wheels would be in motion. And so I will say, as far as putting caution on this thing, it doesn't feel like that's the case. It feels like, there's not a rush here. And and they're just going to take meetings and figure it out. If he was just locked in on joining the Warriors, then I think those signals would have already been sent.
Talking to Sam Amick here on the UMA guest line. We just played a soundbite right before we had you on from Brian Windhorst where he said, look, you could look at the Heat, you could look at the Lakers in this, you could look at the Cavs, you could look at the Warriors, but only one of those teams acted with knowledge in all of this, and that was the Warriors in his opinion because of Draymond Green opting out and creating some of that flexibility. Do you agree with that statement that only the Warriors have seemed to act with knowledge, or would you say maybe there's something to what the Heat have been able to do and everything they gave up for Giannis? That was a counterpoint that JD had also brought up.
Give me that last part again, Greg. Apologies. Like you said, it's one of those days, and I glanced at the phone. But you're asking if the Heat
you were all good.
Signals that, yeah.
The short answer of the question, or short version of the question, is: do you believe that out of all the teams in the mix for LeBron, only the Warriors have acted with knowledge because of Draymond opting out of the option?
I see. Yeah, I mean the Heat they have not been operating like a team that knew LeBron was coming. They were turning over all the other rocks, you know what I mean? And they still are. Transparently, I have asked the Heat, decision makers if they want to pour cold water on this or, fan the flames. And so far there's not clarity on that front. So, that's a choice, just kind of to leave it hanging out there. The basketball fit, and I know sometimes we gloss over that, you know what I mean? Like we talk about star power and getting guys together, but Giannis with Bam and LeBron yes, LeBron's shooting has improved tremendously later in his career, but that's still, it's a weird, like Giannis and LeBron are on the top 5 list, if not top 3 all time of transition players and getting downhill. The fit would be strange, and Giannis likes to have the ball in his hands quite a bit. And Bam is a pretty decent playmaker. So I actually think they'd be stepping on each other quite a bit basketball-wise. So take that for what it's worth. So yeah, of those 3, I'd probably have Miami bringing up the back end.
Sam, if there was another team that's not among the 3, and there's been a report, just, small things since we've been talking, hey, LeBron's, told Rich Paul, talk to everybody who's interested, bring me the names, I'll make a decision. If there was a team that we, isn't in the 3 that have been reported, let's say this morning, who would you think might have interest that maybe nobody's talking about yet?
I mean, I don't know if this is out there. My guy, John Krasinski, who dominates the Minnesota area reporting-wise, certainly is shared information with me that the T-Wolves have interest. I have no idea how LeBron sees it. I don't know if I just lost you guys on video or you're still there. But they have interest. Now, pun intended, I don't see that having a snowball's chance in hell just based on LeBron's other priorities. His family lives in L.A. That is a tough flight to get out there. That's a tough winter to endure. And at this stage, I mean, say this respectfully, LeBron has been, he's had a bit of a diva quality his entire career, and understandably so. But at 41, I got a hard time seeing him sledding all the way out to Minnesota. But, they've got Ant, they've got LaMelo Ball. They're obviously trying to add to it. From there, I mean, I'm repeating myself, but like the Clippers thing should be looked at. I cannot see LeBron putting a Clippers jersey on, but, it reaches a point where he's got more money than he knows what to do with, and so quality of life matters. I'm spitballing here. I mean, Phoenix has had a pretty decent summer so far, I think, and they're kind of risky. I could see Matt Ispia trying to see if LeBron has any interest, and that's more convenient to LA than even San Francisco is. So we'll have to see. I mean, the incredible part, guys, that should be said, and I said this to one of LeBron's people yesterday, is that it's just insane that all these years later, like if you ask my editors, if you ask the people who make decisions in media, like which player are they most interested in this summer, it is LeBron James. Like it's not Giannis. It's not, Kawhi Leonard. It's not John Morant. It's not LaMelo Ball. It's LeBron James. The dude is 41 years old, and it just blows me away that we're still talking about him in this way.
I mean, the longevity factor in all of this, Sam, is remarkable when not just LeBron and the Warriors' pursuit of him, but also we're a decade removed from the Hamptons 5 and the Warriors in their primes trying to track down KD to go and bring him in. So I'm right there with you. We've had so much conversation about it today. I guess in the notion of youth, but not really by the standard of the NBA draft, I did want to ask you about Yaxel Lendeborg as well. We're going to talk to Andy Kennedy on the show tomorrow, the head coach for UAB, where Yaxel came from JUCO and really blossomed into the guy that was a national champion at Michigan. Your thoughts on not only drafting him as a fit, but also that being another indicator of the Warriors just leaning into age, leaning into experience?
Yeah, I mean, that's the takeaway. I don't admittedly know a ton about Yaxel other than his resume and the fact that he's just an incredibly accomplished, long-tenured college player and a guy who appears to be as much of a plug-and-play talent as you were going to find in this first round. Now, it doesn't seem like much of a reach to take him where they took him. They seem very excited. But, I mean, listen, this is how they should be moving. Steph Curry is whatever he is now, 37. He's got a short runway. You can't draft 29-year-olds typically, so you go get a guy who you can trust. And that's a theme. I know Pods took some heat for saying in that interview recently that he thought they should draft guys that could really help now, but he's right. And it seems like that's what they did.